soul still lives on. You missed that. You see, the soul will either go to eternal life, or it will go to eternal damnation. But the soul does not die. God made something here when he stepped back and said, and man became a living soul. That was the epitome of what God did that day. You think you all that and a bag of chips? Wait till you find out the value of your soul. Even a sinful soul is worth something to God, because if God would wrap himself up in a panoply of flesh, climb up on a cross and give his life for a sinful soul so that the soul can live again, God must understand what the value of a soul really is, because he wrapped himself up in flesh and gave to the cross his own soul so that sinful soul in damnation might live. I wish I could preach this thing in here. God is an awesome God. You ought to shake your neighbor's hand and tell him God is an awesome God. He's a marvelous God. And what the psalmist does to us now, he says, my tears have been my meat day and night, while they continually say unto me, where is thy God? It is the tears of the soul. It is the crying, bursting tears of the eye that has heard from the soul. Yes, it is the emotions of a man or woman that has heard from the soul and has captured the pains that goes on in there. I'm looking at my own self and I ask God, how much more can I take? God said, keep going, because you are soul and I saved you. I wondered, how much can I take? How much more of this can I take? And God said, keep going. I made you strong. And don't think for a minute you're stronger than anybody else, because when it comes to soul, all souls are equal when they are saved. And so now the saving of the soul is the inspiration of God wrapped in the soul and the spirit so that it might keep on keeping on. God is somebody. I got to tell you this. It is the cry of the soul then when the psalmist said, my tears have been my meat day and night. But what catch my attention in this text is when he says, my soul thirsted for God, for the living God. My shout is here, but can I teach a while before I holler? You see, I'm looking at the soul and how wonderfully God made it. And now the psalmist is saying, my soul thirsted for God. I question that text. Stay with me now. It ain't time to shout now. Just sit there and look real still, you know, and learn something. I'm looking at the text and I'm saying now, my soul thirsted for God. How can the soul thirst for God when thirst is a physiological determination from the physical man? The psalmist is using physiological terms to express spiritual dispositions. He said, my soul thirsted for God. But hold up, Mr. Preacher Man. The soul, how could the soul be thirsty? Because thirst is associated with the esophagus and the tongue from a physiological standpoint. And what do you do with a thirst but just quench the thing, you know? What else can you do with thirst but quench it? And when you're going to quench the thirst, it doesn't go any further. When you say, I need my thirst quenched, what you're saying is, I want to deal with the hunger of my throat and my tongue and whatever coordination that is going on between the two. And so now the psalmist said, my soul thirsted for God. And I'm questioning the text now because I'm asking, how can the soul be thirsty when thirst is a physiological disposition of a person who is in need of something to drink? I almost dismissed it as poetry until I began to study Jesus, who said, I am the living living fountain. Okay. Yes, I had to run to the New Testament to find out how Jesus feels about the thirst of the soul. He goes further. He said to Jackson, don't you know I am the well of life? Yes, I am the living fountain. I am the well springs of life. Forget the bread, because we ain't talking about what to eat for the soul now. We're talking thirst, and we got to drink. So now Jesus is in conjunction with the psalmist, because the psalmist says the soul thirsts, and Jesus declares, I am the fountain of life. I am the living waters. I ain't got nobody with me. I wonder, why would Jesus want to be something of this quality so that the soul could come to him? He declares, if any man thirst, Lord have mercy. You ought to touch your neighbor and say, I see Pastor now. Because if there is a thirst, Jesus got the answer to the thirst. I got to preach this thing like I see it. If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink, and I will take care of that thirst. God is something, my brothers. And so I wondered about it then. If the soul become thirsty, how do I fix the thirst of the soul? It is marvelous to understand that you drink water to quench the thirst of your physiological self, but you have to drink Jesus to quench the thirst of the soul. He told his disciples, I am the bread of life. And when he broke the bread and showed them the cup, say, drink of my blood. Ain't that something now? Contrary to physiological distinctions, because blood should never go in the mouth, but because the life of the body is in the blood. I wish I could preach this. The life of the body is in the blood. And if we're going to save your soul, Lord have mercy, the only saving of the soul is through the drinking of the fountain of life, the living bread to be eaten. You're getting a full course meal when you come to the table of God. I'm not just going to quench your thirst, but I'm going to fill your soul, and he that is hungry, let him come. And if you hunger and thirst after righteousness, Jesus becomes the one. I wish I had some help in here. Jesus is the one. Touch your neighbor, say, let's go to the table, because there is food at the table, and the table is spread. You got to eat of Jesus, you got to drink of Jesus, because he is the preparation from God. God knew what he was doing when he said man became a living soul. And if man becomes a living soul, we have to keep the life alive in the soul of the man. But because of sin, the man goes hungry. Because of sin, the man goes thirsty. So God makes preparation for a hungry, thirsty man. Oh God, he makes preparation for a hungry, thirsty, sinful man. And that preparation is in the person of Jesus Christ. Here is one man then who will quench your thirst, feed your hunger, take your sin away, and remove the confusion from your life. Somebody holla holla. I ain't got no music, but I feel good in here. And since this week was rough psychologically, and since this week was tough emotionally, and since I was attacked intelligently, let me go on and bring my soul out here. Oh, I came to preach today because I will not be discouraged. The psalmist said, why art thou careless?